All right, so it is still June 14th. I did my first podcast a few moments ago, and I would just want to follow up on one subject very quickly, and that is fitness, and kind of kicking this in the ass regarding this because it's one of the questions I get asked the most. At my age, how did you stay in shape, or how did you get the body you have, and blah, blah, blah. And the reality is, I can tell you something. I was very thin as a young age, and I used to call it reverse anorexiism because every time I looked in the mirror, I just felt like a toothpick. But I was extremely strong for my age. My nickname is Tiger. That's what most of my family members call me. Still to this day, so I have 100 and some cousins. They all call me that. My father calls me that. I think everyone calls me that but my mother. So anyways, I guess even when I was younger, I ripped the high chair. I ripped the thing off and threw it, and then the side of my crib, I got so nuts, I kept pushing it, and then I pushed the whole thing out and drove it. I guess the whole thing kind of collapsed, and then I dragged it out. I didn't want to be in a cage. So my father couldn't believe, I guess, the strength I had as a young child. And then as I got older, I really was usually very strong for my size. Even in high school, I wrestled I played sports continuously my whole life. My mother was one of those women. I was divorced, so I don't know if she felt bad, but she always had me in organized sports. I think to keep me off the streets of Chicago or Cicero at that time, because I spent a lot of time there. And I was in every organized sport except, I think, basketball, even though I played a ton of basketball. And I ended up going to St. Joseph High School, which is one of the most known high schools for basketball, where Isaiah Thomas graduated and some other very well-known basketball players, which is kind of interesting. I was just relatively always strong, even though I was skinny, if that makes sense. And I had like pretty good genetic. I had a lot of ability. Like I was even dunking volleyballs in high school, and I was only 5'6". It first started with tennis balls. I played tennis. I even went to tennis camp in Bradenton, Florida, Nick Voluntary, which was an amazing time. But they used to have dunk contests at Intramural's lunch, and we had an amazing basketball team. Obviously, that goes downstate. Gene Pingatore, who's like a world famous in the United States high school coach. But they would have dunk contests, and then I can jump extremely high. And then I couldn't palm a basketball, I was too little, and then I started grabbing tennis balls that I had, and I would go up and dunk and hang on the rim, and the place would go crazy. I only truly dunked a basketball once, though. I could never palm it, but one time I bounced it off the backboard, caught it, and it hit my hand perfectly, and I dunked it. Anyways, that's my claim to fame, what a dunk. But I used to be able to take those other mini basketballs and do a bunch of tricks and dunk. There's even photos my mother has of me doing that, which is pretty cool because my legs, I look like I'm 4 feet off the ground. But my mother and father have incredible genetics. They are probably two of the most genetically gifted people I've ever seen, even at my age. My father's like 72 and he's shredded. And my mother's got really wide shoulders, and both of them have amazing legs, great shoulders, back. My father's a little thinner, but very strong. He was a star athlete in Illinois. He went to the top military school for his whole life. So I think he was the heavyweight champ boxer. He's one of the star basketball players. Swimmers, top swimmers in the state, a bunch of shit like that. But my dad was much more mature at his age, because in 8th grade he was 6 foot. I was never 6 foot. I'm only 5'10" now, but my mother is like 5'6", 5'7", but always had a crazy strength. Was in yoga, still unbelievably strong. Probably one of the most strongest women I've ever seen. So when I was 5 or 6 years old, my mother brought my dad, right before they got divorced, a weight set. So I started, when they got divorced, my father moved, and then we got the weight set. My father gave it to me at like some years later, and it was actually just a bench and a straight bar, and I would sleep on that bench. And I loved being big and strong. I've always had an obsession with it. I wasn't huge with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I kind of dug Lou Ferrigno because of the Hulk. And what's Arnold's sidekick? How would I forget the Italian little short guy? I'm horrible with names, guys. Anyways, his sidekick, he won Mr. Olympia after Arnold left. It'll jump to me later. I have like a short circuit where I have delays in my brain. I don't know why. It was just the way it is. Columbo. He was my favorite as a young guy. He's, ripping, I think he was ripping phone books and carrying refrigerators on his back. I loved all that shit. So I loved weightlifting. So to make a long story short, I started lifting at a very young age, probably 8, 9, 10. I don't even know. And then we lived in LaGrange, Illinois, and it was behind the largest YMCA, I think, in the Midwest at that time. The field, for starters, where I would play tons of sports, I think if you ran around it twice, it was a mile. So it was a big field with a bunch of different baseball fields. It had an area you could play football, obviously soccer, post setup, everything. And the YMCA in itself was massive. So I was able to go in there and join sports. I'd swim in there. So, as you know, Chicago's freezing all the time. So I had an opportunity to keep playing sports inside there, playing basketball, indoor floor hockey, all different sports. Even tennis. We had outdoor, but not indoor there. But I also could go to an indoor tennis club in LaGrange. I think it was Countryside. So I never stopped working out, and I never stopped playing on teams. Even in high school, I'd play 3 sports, which was kind of weird. It would be tennis, wrestling, say soccer. I actually went to high school for football because I played Pop Warner football, which was really excelled in it. Which is crazy, I was a linebacker and I was a running back, which makes absolutely no sense considering I was one of the smallest kids on the team. But I had really good hands, and I can blast people. I'm really good at hitting people because I think I had no fear, and I ran like an animal. So I went to high school. I went there to play high school. I just couldn't. I didn't grow, so I kind of played soccer over the years too. So I just played soccer, and my mother. I had some wrestling scholarship. Wrestling is where I really started to exceed. I could have probably did really well in tennis when I was at Nick Voluntary Tennis Camp. They asked me if I wanted to live there and stay and train to become a professional tennis player. And truthfully, I was too short. I thought at the time I was like 5'4", 5'5", even though I was the strongest guy at the camp because they would do weight training and nobody really lifted weights like I lifted, and I never stopped lifting weights at home or at the YMCA. And starting from 12 years old, I never stopped lifting weights. The only time I stopped lifting weights was for like 6 months when my daughter had her liver transplant in my late 20s, early 30s. I think it was late 20s. But I was hitting hardcore weights even at 12 years old in the YMCA because I would sneak into the rooms, and they had weight rooms. And then they had another room, which was a racquetball room, and they stuck a bunch of free weight in there, and then nobody would watch anybody. So I also ended up moving to Melrose Park, which also had a hardcore civic center, workout center. So I would go there in the winter, and all I did was lift weights. A lot of guys, I played basketball in between, but I was always lifting weights because I always wanted to get bigger and stronger. I think I was the strongest bench presser in my high school year, senior year, which wasn't even a lot, but I only weighed 138 pounds. I was benching like 225. I really wasn't squatting then, but I could curl and do a lot of tricep. I had a lot of strength for my size. Even though I was 138, I can bench press like 185, say 10 times or 8 times. Maybe I did 225 few times, but they were kind of blown away by it back in the early 80s or mid 80s at this time. And then I don't know what happened. I think from wrestling all those years too, kind of cutting weight, but I just was exhausted from being so small, and I just was always lifting weights. And I think one of the problems was, which I learned later after I came to Florida and met my buddy Greg, is I was always breaking down my muscles. I wasn't giving them an opportunity to grow. I wasn't eating enough food. I was kind of always doing full body, so I would hit, chest, bis, tris, and some shoulders one day. Then the next day, do chest again if it wasn't sore, and back and bis, hypothetically. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know. I looked at magazines and I kind of saw how they broke down. Like, okay, chest and tris. Then the next day, shoulders, bis, hypothetically, or back traps, and then legs, calves, or what, obviously. Back then, I didn't do it until I met my buddy in summer school in Florida, and then he said, Rich, you really got to start breaking this down. You're not getting the results you should be getting for as much weight as you're lifting, and blah, blah, blah. So after high school, I was only 138 pounds, and I think I was 5'6", and I don't know what the hell happened to me. I think I just hit puberty very late. So I was like 138 pounds, 5'6", and I was doing modeling in the city, and I just wanted to get bigger. And I started to see, I was actually getting more muscle mass than I was getting, or I guess more muscular, just not gaining weight. So when I was modeling, they're like, hey, you're going to have to actually trim down maybe, or I wasn't growing at the height, even though I really excelled in modeling. We're doing runway and everything. I just wasn't getting the height. So I ended up going and moving to Florida to help my father with his vending business. And I just started eating like an animal. I don't know, something just clicked, and I just started eating. And I started taking some gainer fuel. There weren't a lot of GNCs then, but I think I did go to a GNC or some type of supplement place. And back then, people were shitting in their pants. They thought everybody, if you took anything, it wasn't healthy. It was everything with. If you go back to the like 1987, if you took, they had this stuff in Florida called hot stuff that we took, and it was all legal. This isn't steroids or any bullshit. We took animal packs and Gainer's Fuel and Natural Sterile Complex. I'm not sure if it worked or if it was a placebo effect, but I don't know what happened. But I went from literally in like a year, maybe less than a year, I went from 138 pounds to about 210, which I know sounds kind of crazy. And I also grew from 5'6" to 5'10", and I was 19 years old. And the girl who I ended up marrying, Terry, she was 5'6" when I met her, and she grew to 5'10", which was kind of amazing because she'd be going off to college in Georgia and coming back, and she's like, she'd even tell me on the phone, man, I'm growing, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm kind of growing too, and she'd see me, she'd be shocked. She was shocked. So everybody thought I was taking steroids, which I wasn't. I just think I hit, truthfully, puberty late as far as that goes. I don't know how it happened because I thought I was going to be like a 150-pound guy, 5'6" for the rest of my life at this point. And I started to go to hardcore gyms. There's one in Florida where actually it was, I think, the hub for all the steroids being sold out of the state of Florida. Great guys. I don't want to name the gym and hurt their credibility, but it was really old school. There's also another old school gym. I think it was the original gym in the United States called Orange Avenue Gym. A lot of powerlifters went there, so I started to hang out with a lot of powerlifters. And some of the world champion arm wrestlers were there. So, also wrestling started to pick up here. I don't know why or whatever. I think Macho Man at the time. I don't even know if he was Macho Man at the time. So he was. A lot of people would be in Florida. A lot of pro bodybuilders live in Florida. A lot of people don't know that. They live in California and Florida. A lot obviously live in Tampa, but they'd be in and out of Orlando or Central Florida in general. So I get to see a ton of pretty well-known wrestlers. Get to see their workout routines. Who was the bad guy with Hulk Hogan? With the beard, he's kind of handsome. He was a bouncer at the Dollhouse. Then he the guy came in and whacked him, and then he shot him. Fucking fiasco. Who knows? He ended up becoming a pro wrestler too, so I spot with him. I ended up working out with the strongest powerlifter in the country at his weight, which was, I think, light heavy. And then I ended up actually later in life hooking up with a friend called Mordecai, and Tarsus. I ended up hooking up with Tarsus and Mordecai, who owned Strong Arm Sports at the time, who did all the clothing line for a lot of the NFL players, powerlifters, and wrestlers, which was an amazing. Those two are amazing guys, which I kind of designed my own clothing line based off that called Sore Loser Wear, which was a clothing line for people who hate to lose. Our saying was, it doesn't matter if you win or lose as long as you come in first. But that was way down the line. Let's go back. So I started working out in these hardcore gyms. I ended up then joining Gold and World Gym in Florida, which was great because, again, an opportunity to work out with a lot of different type of guys, pro bodybuilders, powerlifters, and I just was obsessed with getting bigger. Truthfully, it was never enough. I ended up building a lot of strength. It all just kind of came, a lot of my strength just came at me at 19 and 20 years old. I literally started bench pressing a lot more weight. Whatever age I was, I would warm up with 225. So even like say when I was 21, 22, I would just put 2 plates on each side, and 225 I'd bust out 20 times like it was nothing. I think the most I ever did was like I stopped at 27 years old. But even into my mid-20s, or even before that, I started just getting crazy. I never took steroids. I just ate probably about 5,000 calories a day. I was bench pressing. The most I think I ever bench pressed, maybe 450 for a few on a Smith, because my joints are small and I tore my rotator's cuff. As far as free weight goes, people have all these wise tales about me, including my friends. They call me the White Bo Jackson, which is absolutely ridiculous because Bo Jackson's a goddamn god. But I would squat. My legs were probably some of the strongest I've ever seen. And I'm not saying I'm Mentor or not even Mentor, or what's his name? I have legs like professional bodybuilders, but what was his name? Lee Priest? I can't even remember. No, that's not him. That's that short dude. What the hell's the dude's name with the big legs with the blonde hair? We all love him. Anyways, I loved Dorian Yates. I loved Haney. I loved all these bodybuilders. I was fortunate enough to see them perform, go to different shows. I never met them too. I never even got to go. Did I get to go to Haney's gym in Georgia? I can't remember. I've been so many places. But I was obsessed with kind of bodybuilding and lifting heavy weights. But I think I used to squat 500 for reps of 10. Deep squats. I think I leg press. I've gone up to 1,500. I've curled up to 185 pounds, hundreds in each dumbbell. My first film, they got me on video curling 135 for reps of 10. That's the only video footage I think we have of me lifting weights. And then there was a bunch of crazy shit I would do. Obviously, with weights, my incline was almost as strong as my flat. So I'd go up to 365 for 6 to 8. And then 315 on a free weight. I would probably do 10 to 12, sometimes 15. And again, there's way stronger guys out there. I, again, never took steroids. If I took steroids, I wouldn't even know where I would have been able to go to. But I was obsessed with getting big and strong. One of the reasons was I was collecting money all over the United States, illegally and legally, collecting vending for my father in Florida, legally. But I just wanted to be big. My father started to call me the ape. And truthfully, you're always worried about being robbed when you're collecting money or things going wrong. And I had a complex and really an insecurity. No matter how big I got, I wasn't big enough. I basically jumped up to, probably in my early 20s, I jumped up to 230 and held that 230 to 250 in between there for many years, up until probably my late 30s. I started to feel horrible, truthfully. My arm started to go numb, my left arm. Things started, my chest pains. I would sweat profusely. I ended up being pretty massive, I guess, for a guy who wasn't on the juice. I was like a 54 coat. I hit, my arms, the biggest were 19. I think 19 and a half. I never hit 20. People always would be like, no, you did. I'd be like, no, I didn't. You're assholes. So after that, I started not to feel good, obviously, and I leaned down to about 215, and now I'm about 200 pounds. Obviously, I don't have nearly the strength I used to have just because of my age, nor will my joints and tendons allow me to lift that weight any longer. I'm very small boned, which is great for the illusion of bodybuilding, obviously. But my intent now is to stay healthy. I do think I damaged my body. I'm not going to lie to you. I probably put a lot of stress on it being that heavy for so many years. Obviously, lifting extremely heavy weights. I still kind of lift heavy weights. I can't lean off them entirely. I still may go up to 225 and bench at free weight 10 times with a spotter. I curl, say up the dumbbells, 50s. Truthfully, though, squatting, I think, has taken the biggest toll on me. Squatting so many years and never not doing legs. Most people skip legs. I would do legs at least once or twice a week. I probably would have been better off not doing them that often because my knees are slightly destroyed. I do have some lower back, pinches here and there. My elbows are kind of destroyed, my neck. But overall, I think I'm in pretty decent shape for my age. I'm very fortunate because, and I'm going to teach you one thing with this program, and that is to do things slowly, or this podcast, if you do listen to me. The things I do want to kind of discuss are doing everything as slow as possible. I know everybody's taught you to do everything as quickly as possible, but if you don't do it quickly, you don't see amazing results, or you don't get to see the results you want to see in enough time, and all this bullshit. I am quite the opposite. I am the sloth, I call myself. I do things slow, steady, but I can assure you I'm going to complete what I start, and I'm going to probably get the most out of what I'm doing because I'm not rushing it. Is it good or bad to be as slow as I am? I really don't give a shit. Even creating things, I'm slow. I just keep working on things. I don't get obsessed with putting deadlines on things. I'm just not that type of person. It doesn't work for me. And I'm here to tell you, just like when I was gaining weight, obviously I've had these pops where I gained 10, 15 pounds in a year, or at that time, like I was discussing, I gained a lot of weight fast. But what I really learned is I only want to really gain 5 pounds roughly a year of muscle. Max 10, that's a lot if you really look at it. And I would tell you the same thing. Even if you if you want to gain weight, we're going to be talking on this podcast about how to gain and lose weight. And I'm going to get into that very on a separate episode, and it's basically all I look at is to gain a pound a week or a pound a month, really, for people, and that same goes for losing it, which we'll get into in the future. But as far as working out goes, if what I really want you to consider, if you are considering working out, is what do you really enjoy doing? Because if you're not doing what you enjoy, you're never going to stick with it. And you also have to be realistic. When working out, when most people I find don't, that's the same with their eating habits, the same with their lifestyle. You have to really step back and say, am I going to do this consistently to get the results I need? And when people also say, yeah, I've been working out a year, 2 years, 3 years, I don't look like you, or I don't look like this. Well, I've been doing this my entire life. You're probably most likely, you may never look like me at your age, considering we're both middle-aged. It may come, but it may take 3 years, it could take 6 years, it may take 10 years. I don't know. Because a lot of things come into play. Your food, your diet, obviously is huge. Your sleeping, I sleep a lot. I love taking naps. I don't give a shit. Even when I'm traveling, I'm sleeping in planes, I sleep in hotels, I can sleep anywhere. I sometimes take 2 naps a day. I could care less. I've got to get rest, especially if I work out hard when I do work out. Or when I work, I work. When I'm creating things, I'm creating a lot of things. Like I discussed on the other podcast, I'm creating 2 programs, podcast, this, obviously an app. I've got tons of shit going besides me traveling for my other work. So, I need rest. And how do you work out? How consistent are you? Are you hitting the right body parts at the right times? Are you getting the most out of your workouts? People are so hot and cold. I've been pretty consistent. I'm running out of juice at times, I'm not going to lie, but I will fight through it. Even when I travel, when I land, I go work out. All right? I don't neglect that part of my life. My health is number one. Without my health, I am nothing. You only get one body. That is it. You only get one. You better take care of it, because when it goes, it goes. Without your health, you're a piece of shit. So, in the future, I want to start going through different workouts. I'm thinking about creating, my 3rd program is going to be all about fitness in the gym for all different age demographics. What I think worked, doesn't work eventually, how to stretch. I think that worked over the last 35, 40 years of my life. What didn't work. How to use certain equipment. I have all these different tricks that I'm going to be videotaping and doing a voiceover with that I think would help a lot of people, especially middle-aged men wanting to get into the gym. But what I really want you to consider if you're working out or wanting to work out is what type of workouts do you want to do. For instance, if you don't like free, so I have an uncle that hates free weights, right? He's never going to do free weights, but he's always like, I can't work out. I'm like, well, there's other things you can do. I don't care if you go play basketball. I don't care if you take yoga. I don't care if you take Pilates. I don't care if you go play volleyball. I don't care what you do. Jog, walk. There's a million different things you can do, organized or unorganized. If you want to go surfing, bicycle riding of any sort, mountain biking, that long distance shit, whatever the hell they do in Southern California, those guys up and down those hills. There's tons of different things you could do to get in shape, but you can't do you can't be like, I want to run, but I want to be jacked up and look big, like somebody who lifts weights. Obviously, that doesn't make sense, and I hear people say that all the time. You know what I mean? If you want to be big and jacked, then you're going to have to lift weights. If you hate lifting weights, I don't know how you're going to get big and jacked unless you have a genetics for that. Most likely you don't. So you got to kind of figure out what you want to do. But if you don't figure out what you want to do as far as fitness goes, you're never going to keep up with it. That's the reality. And that's why obviously you hear about so many people joining gyms, then quitting gyms. Because the reality is they don't like going to the gym, most of them. Right? Okay, and then they try to force themselves New Year's resolution to say, hey, this is the year, or this is the year. No, it's never going to probably be the year. You may start off strong, but in the back of your head, you just know you're not going to keep up with it. Or you start seeing results, and you may hit a certain place, but then you quit, which is fine. But a lot of times for you to consistently look good, feel good, and be in shape, there has to be a consistency to that. I call it's like a bank account. If you were Obviously, if it's going up and down, there's no consistency in there, and it not only does it kind of cause emotional and mental things, but problems. I think it just takes a toll on you if you're getting in shape and then out of shape, and then in shape, out of shape. Even if you're gaining muscle mass, then losing it, gaining muscle mass and losing it. People are like, muscle has, memory. It does. But look at your body. Try to get something where it's under control. Even you're sleeping, you're eating a little bit. Try to give it some consistency so it knows where it stands, I think. To do extremes, and I see tons of people, they hire trainers, they kill it for 6, 8, 12 weeks, and then they start doing their own thing, and then they weed out. Or they quit. Just try to be consistent. All right? That's the number one thing. And also, here's the deal. If you do hire a trainer, nothing against trainers, a trainer's job is to weed them out of your life. Now, if you're hiring a trainer to give you, if you're a professional athlete or you want to hire a trainer that motivates you, God bless you. That's wonderful. And if you have the money to do that, keep doing it. But a lot of people can't afford to keep paying trainers. So what you're going to need to figure out is learn as much you can from the trailer, but they have to acknowledge they can only teach you so much, and they should be weeding themselves out. I think after 2 to 3 months, they're going to show you all their workouts, basically, that what they like to do. But you can jump on YouTube, Instagram. There's more information than ever regarding this. So I wouldn't waste a lot of money on a trainer, truthfully. A lot of times when you join a gym, you get one free session. Obviously, you want to take that. You're going to become extremely sore after that, especially if you haven't been working out. If you want to hire them, good for you. But another way that I've always realized, the best way to learn how to work out in any situation, I don't care if you want to play sports or anything, is get around people who do it. Become friends. Build relationships. I ended up building relationships with professional bodybuilders. I ended up powerlifters. Just people who work out in general that are... And what I would do is look at people and say, this is kind of what I want to look like. They kind of have the same structure body I have. Or this person has legs that I like. I'm going to work out with his leg workout, or just pay attention to what he does. This guy's got great arms. I remember seeing one dude who had the biggest arms I've ever seen to this day. And I'm like, dude, how do you do that? And I'll probably have to show you this visually. But after he would do curls, he'd bend over and do rows. Okay. I learned that. And man, it's unbelievable just learning little tricks of the trade. So, having one trainer, again, is only going to teach you one specific thing that he knows, that he thinks works for you. And usually they only have so much in the arsenal. But if you start to hang out and become friends with all different trainers, you don't have to pay them. And you can just kind of also watch them in the gym or just get feedback from them. Become Facebook friends with them, Instagram. They're going to probably be showing you things on video. You can also read magazines. So that's another way to start saving some money and getting into shape, is building relationships with people who are in shape and are doing what you want to do. Also, regarding getting in shape, start figuring out, be open-minded to do different things. So, like, I always thought I wanted to surf when I was in Southern California. Then I went with my cousin. We went surfing. I got the shit kicked out of me. I said, you know what? These waves are pretty big, because I used to live in Florida and the waves were only a few feet. Now I'm in California, 6, 7, 8 feet. I mean, beating the shit out of me. I'm like, what the fuck am I talking? I'm not a surfer. I love swimming, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I thought I could, work out with weights and do swimming. I got my ass kicked. I mean, I don't know if you've surfed, man, but it is brutal. Anyways, put surfing aside. I'm like, this is not for me. And then he loved mountain biking. I like that, but I ended up flipping over the handlebars, breaking 3 of my ribs like a lunatic as I was jumping. That was fun, I'll be honest. There's like mountain lions and shit in San Diego. That's where I live, San Diego, and in those areas. So I was afraid a fucking mountain lion was going to jump on my back. Wasn't in the mood for that, but I still liked riding bikes on the beach and going up and down the hills of Carlsbad, even going through La Jolla, obviously Encinitas, Oceanside. It's beautiful there. So I like that. I wouldn't go out and spend $5,000 on a bike, because my cousin had the bikes, and I said, listen, I'm not doing this all the time. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a gym guy, and I'm a swimmer. I love swimming, but strictly underwater. I do like 40 laps after a lot of my workouts. I love it. I like jacuzzis. Steam rooms are unbelievable. I love that. And he was taking up racquetball. I played tennis in my youth, like I was discussing. I played a lot of tennis, and I was really good at racquetball. I actually excelled so much in racquetball, I had to use my left hand because most of my friends weren't that good. But I told him I'm out on racquetball. I don't like it anymore. I don't know what it is, swinging a racket. I will play tennis with people if they want to get some sun. It's still kind of fun, just not interested in it. And these other assholes playing racquetball with 3, 4 people in the room, they need a crack in their face because all I see them in the gym is getting hit with the ball, hit with the racket. I don't think racquetball was made that tight of a room for 4 people. I think that's a lazy ass move. Just my opinion. God bless all you who play it. All right. So, what I'm saying is I had to find what works for me. I'm trying different things all the time myself. Keep yourself open-minded. I'm pretty good at volleyball, which I like. The thing is, from squatting so much, I can still jump very high. I can still come close to grabbing a basketball rim. And I can kick extremely high still. I used to be able to kick an 8-foot ceiling just going straight up, which I probably should have went into martial arts because I boxed and wrestled, but I wasn't very good at boxing. I excelled in wrestling. I probably should have went into jiu-jitsu. I just got sick of grappling men and the smell and just burnt on it. I do think I want to go into some type of combat learning, though, including maybe learning how to use a gun much better than I used to. I guess you could say I'm not as good as I once was. Not that I ever was great by any means. Again, keep your eyes and ears open as far as different things. And while you're doing that, even just learn how to walk. I walk a ton. Try to walk. Try to go up and down stairs. Not take shortcuts. I try to kind of park far, so I have to walk further. Try not to sit as much. You'd be shocked at how many calories you're going to be burning by just walking. My cousin lost 40, 50 pounds, I think, just walking 2 miles a day consistently. And he changed a little of his eating habits. Not a lot in Chicago, but he never worked out, and it was shocking to see how much weight he lost just by walking. So if you need to figure those things out, and obviously there's ellipticals, there's treadmills, and a lot of that. I don't jog on treadmills anymore. They jar my knees again. Beat the shit out of me. I do more of elliptical. I like the back pulley machine for a warm-up for my back, like a crew. I like that. And I've been spending more and more time in the gym myself, and you may consider this even before you start working out, is learning to stretch more and more and more, regardless what age you are. Not stretching to hurt yourself, just getting some flexibility. They're doing more and more studies, and I think that they're claiming, and things flip all the time. 1 minute they'll say stretching's good, next minute if you stretch too much it's bad. But the bottom line is, if you're flexible, I think as you get older, the better off you're going to be. From what I've even gone through personally and seen other people, flexibility is the key. I'm seeing a lot of my friends that lifted a lot of heavy weights throughout their life breaking down, and they don't want to let the ego go. So if you have been lifting heavy weights, or you're lifting a lot of weights and you are becoming middle-aged or over middle-aged, you may consider backing off that. Really just acknowledging that you're not going to keep up with your youth as much as you want to. I think that's just a reality. But I also see a lot of people who can't keep up with their youth or with their workouts that they've done in the past, that they quit. And that's the last thing I think you should do. You just need to start challenging yourself in other ways. I think Jane Fonda once even talked about that. They asked her about the type of shape she's in at her age. She's like, I'm not out to keep competing with my past. I'm here to kind of improve in my future. Something in that nature. And I agree with her 100%, because what happens too is I think we get discouraged and we just get frustrated. We're not as strong as we once were. We're not as fast as we once were. We're not as flexible as we once were. It's hard, but there are things that you can do to keep improving on your body. It may even take longer to do things, but keep doing them. So say I like swimming, say I do 40 laps, maybe in the future I may even do more, because now I'm not lifting heavy weights, but I do want to get my body in this type of shape, or whatever it is. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to be going through things like that in the podcast, giving you advice on a lot of different things that I think work for fitness. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Where are we at here time-wise? Yeah, we're at about 34 minutes. So look forward to communicating with anybody who wants to communicate through my, I'm going to probably start a Facebook page, podcast, or you can reach me on LinkedIn, Twitter. I love helping people. more than I like doing anything else. So, if don't ever be afraid to ask me any question, especially about anything I talk about on the show, if you or anything. Um, I'm not saying I've been there and done that, but I will. I think I know a lot of people, and I've been around the block. I might be able to help you, and if I can't, I'll tell you where I think you might be able to get help. Um, so, take off and look forward to the future with you guys. Hopefully, you keep following my podcast and listening, and that's it. Take care.